let's move on to the election results. The entire country's been watching this one. The November runoff between incumbent Karen Bass and Councilmember Nithya Raman is now set. After Raman edged Spencer Pratt, claiming 29% to Pratt's 26%.
On election night, Pratt led Raman by roughly 40,000 votes, but after a week of counting mail-in ballots, Raman pushed past Pratt, ending his outsider campaign.
All right, joining us now to talk more about this, the day after, political analyst Matt Klink and political commentator Mo Kelly.
We were just saying it would be until around the November election before we saw you again, but you know, hey, never a dull moment in the city of Los Angeles,
yeah,
right?
Politics is like the weather. If you don't like it, just wait 5 minutes. It'll change. You have something else to talk about.
This is true. Yeah, so it does look like it's going to be Karen Bass versus Nithya Raman in this upcoming general election. What do you make of these results? Are you in any way surprised?
No, and I think it would have been a much more interesting race to see Karen Bass against Spencer Pratt. But literally with every count, you know, we as consultants, we live for the 4 p.m. LA County Registrar vote drop. And every vote count, she was climbing, he was dropping. And then on Sunday, she passed, yep. And she will never look back.
Yeah, most political analysts are saying they're not surprised by this, but I really question sometimes whether or not people just don't admit that it was a little bit of a surprise, because if you look at Nithya Raman election night, C-SPAN even said it was a concession speech. It didn't look like she was victorious. She didn't give this speech that said, let's wait for all the votes to be counted. This is going to be a tight one to the very end. You think even Nithya Raman might be surprised at the results of this election?
I think that's fair to point out, and she might have been concerned, but with elections, you don't necessarily know as far as what is going to happen with the mail-in ballots. Now, you can deduce from the political registrations and maybe use some history as a guide, but nothing is ever determinative like that, other than the fact that we won't know until all the votes and ballots are counted.
But look what happened in 2022. It was the mail-in ballots that determined the winner of the race, essentially.
Yeah, Karen Bass was trailing by 5 points on election night. She ended up beating Rick Caruso by 7. And then in 2024, Nithya Raman did the same thing in her city council re-election race. So, you know, you typically don't cry in a good speech, and Nithya Raman did cry on election night, but she also, C-SPAN may have said it was a concession. It wasn't a concession. I'm sure she was just disappointed at her performance.
So from a granular level, if you take a look at the Los Angeles and the map of Los Angeles and where all the votes went to, tell us what happened here. What went down? Because Pratt seemingly did get a lot of support from the west side, some people in the valley. Mayor Bass did really well in South LA. Raman, all of a sudden at the very end, did they wait to count Hollywood and East LA till the end? Like, what happened there? And all of a sudden, and the gap, the margin there, because Pratt was up by like 8–10% election night, and then to gain so much ground over the past several days was interesting.
Well, think about how they were campaigning. You had Spencer Pratt was basically saying along the lines of Donald Trump, you know, come to the polls, cast your vote in person, not necessarily supporting mail-in voting. Now, Democrats more historically and more recently have been using and utilizing that mail-in ballot process. And so when it comes down to the actual numbers, you have the Spencer Pratt vote, which is going to come in more likely for those day of votes as opposed to the mail-in ballots, which are going to come in the subsequent days.
So the mail-in ballots, that people seem to be holding on to their ballots longer this time around. Why is that?
A lot of young voters and a lot of progressive voters, I think that they held on to their ballot because they didn't know two things. They didn't know who they wanted to vote for governor. And also, they were looking strategically. And I mean, look, Spencer Pratt performed at about 17% in which is about the registered Republican percentage in the city of Los Angeles. So these voters were literally holding on to their ballot and saying, if I vote for Bass, I could move Pratt in. If I vote for Nithya Raman, then Pratt is out. And I think that a lot of younger voters, who, by the way, are very progressive, they voted for Raman. And I will say, though, Nithya Raman lost her own council district.
She did.
She finished third in her council district, behind Karen Bass and Spencer Pratt.
So we had said this even at the beginning of this whole process. Will the AI ads and the noise and the anger that he was running on be enough to take people to the polls? Because I think where people are having a hard time understanding how this happened is there was so much anger all across the country because all eyes were on this race. But these people don't vote in Los Angeles County, even though they might be, you know, sharing the ads on the platforms.
I think that's where people, I think, misunderstood what was actually happening. They misinterpreted the focus on the race as being representative of a voting base, and that was not the case. You know, social media doesn't necessarily translate to actual votes. Now, you have Spencer Pratt, who had a very strong presence on the West Side, and to Bob's point, the West Side turned out for him. But you didn't see him much campaigning in the heart of Los Angeles, developing those coalitions and constituencies, which could actually have him finish in the top 2.
This is going to be certainly an interesting study from here on out. I mean, especially the way elections and campaigns are run, because we really don't have an election day anymore. It's almost like an election month when people are voting or waiting till the last minute. So these political strategists, campaign doers are going to have to try to figure out how to continue to try to bring the horses to the trough all the way from the day that the ballots go out all the way to election day.
We say that all the time. We always refer to election month now. Vote by mail ballots drop on in this case, there was the 9th of May before a June 2nd primary. So you have to prepare for that, and people return them in a U. But I think the more interesting question here, Mayor Bass won roughly 35% of the electorate in the LA. Well, that means that 65% of those voters didn't vote for her. So, and what do the Spencer Pratt voters do? Where do they go?
That's right.
And so either
where are they going to go?
Either they spent like Spencer Pratt. Mayor Bass is responsible for losing my house. I'm going to be vindictive and vote for Nithya Raman, or they say I don't want a socialist. I'm going to vote for Mayor Bass. Or they say, a pox on both your houses, I'm going to sit home. That's where the campaign will be won. So Spencer Pratt, even though he's not in the race, he will likely determine the next mayor of the city of Los Angeles.
But let me ask you this, because, and I don't even know how the whole jungle primary started, where it's the top 2 candidates regardless of party. In cases like this, where Spencer Pratt did seem to get a large chunk of the vote, and it was so close, you're talking 20,000 votes between Nithya Raman and Spencer Pratt, should there be a provision in the future, and this is just pie in the sky, right, of maybe reconsidering expanding that to 3 in cases where the bottom 2 are so close together?
Well, you can see, because of the interest in this race and also the governor's race, there's been more and more discussion about changing our electoral process, not only the jungle primary, but also the time it takes or how we go about counting the mail-in ballots. And so we don't have the election month, but we have closer to an election day or election week.
So looking ahead, I want to show the quote from Mayor Bass, because she released this, I mean, before it was even decided that Nithya Raman was going to go into the general election. She's already going after Nithya Raman here. A campaign against Nithya Raman, who allows encampments near schools and cuts the police force, is one Mayor Bass looks forward to winning. So it almost, as you were saying, Matt, it's going to be a fight for the Spencer Pratt voters. It's almost like she's making
her plea
for them.
Yeah.
Already starting.
No, I mean, it's almost like she knew that was coming. I mean, no, they had planned for this. They knew they were ready for the likelihood. I mean, they read the tea leaves and they saw Spencer Pratt's lead go from 40 to 37 to 33 to 20 and just get eroded consistently. So she has to run a campaign that says that I have what it takes to move the city forward. And Nithya Raman needs to make the race a referendum on Karen Bass.
And as interesting as this primary has been, the general election, this is going to be pretty vicious. I mean, I've already seen within City Hall, you have some of like Mayor Bass's surrogates going after their fellow council member, Nithya Raman.
And they have to work together.
It's going to be tense, but let's not forget, Nithya Raman got in the race on the very last day in which you could enter the race. And previous to that, she had endorsed Karen Bass. So there is a feeling here, a degree of betrayal, my word, as far as how you go about managing.
I've heard people say those words.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think that Mayor Bass would have rather wanted to run against Nithya Raman or Spencer Pratt?
Oh, unquestionably Spencer Pratt.
Well,
No,
yeah.
I mean, look,
The Republican ticket.
well, but he's not really a Republican. I mean, they would have branded him as such. But
try to stay away from that.
The biggest challenge that Mayor Bass faces is there's a lot of really progressive voters in Los Angeles. They don't consider themselves Democrats. I mean, if you look at it, Nithya Raman, Democratic Socialist, the top candidate in the city attorney's race is also a Democratic Socialist. So there is a huge push by the far progressive left and everything they stand for to run the government in the city of Los Angeles. That's going to be the battle royale come November.
That's right.
All right. I think there's only a very small percentage of votes who are waiting to come in, but the race has been called already, and it does look like it's going to be Mayor Bass versus Nithya Raman. We have more to talk about this, and we're going to have you guys stick around for
In the 7
the next
o'clock hour?
Sure,
Excellent.
absolutely.
Certainly lots to talk about. All right, be right back.